This is the Xtra Atto, a 54-gram 4K camera designed with a couple different principles in mind: mobility, perspective, discretion, fast capture, and certainly ease of use. And rather than running you through a big old boring spec list, don't worry, nerds, you'll get it. I'm going to give you the specs. But I really wanted to show you why I think this camera just might fit rather nicely into your camera lineup. And at 54 grams, the size is immediately noticeable. Once it's mounted, it almost disappears. And that changes how you shoot, because you're not thinking about the camera, it's not weighting your hat down or your chest mount down. You're just capturing the moments as they happen, and the camera seems to kind of melt away and you don't notice it. Or you can use it in ways that other cameras can't be used to get really unique shots. And mounting is super simple. You can use any of the included accessories, or you can take advantage of the magnetic back and place it almost anywhere that's metal. Now, visually, the Xtra Atto will remind you a lot of the nano style cameras that we've already seen recently. Similar size, similar footprint, but one key difference is the Xtra decided not to include 120 frames per second in its normal shooting mode like some of its other competitors. But I did find out it still has 4K 120, it's just restricted to their slow motion mode. And look, this is worth talking about because frame rate, especially with these smaller cameras, just isn't about slow motion. You see higher frame rates, well, obviously it means more processing, more heat, and more strain on these cameras overall. And we've already seen what can happen when other ultra compact cameras on the marketplace start pushing 120 frames aggressively. In some cases, overheating becomes part of the conversation. And with these style of cameras, it's not a matter of if it overheats, it's a matter of when. At 4K 24 frames per second or 4K 30 frames per second, I had no issues with overheating. In fact, the camera ran out of batteries before it overheated. Now, this is going to be a continuous 4K 60 recording test, indoors, no airflow tricks, no pauses, just letting the camera do what it's designed to do. And at 4K 60 frames per second, we get a little over 22 minutes, which is also quite a bit better than my test on the Nano. The Atto in regular video mode doesn't offer 120 frames per second, but it is offered in 4K 120 in their slow motion mode. Here, I got nearly 10 minutes before it overheat and shut down. That's almost 5x as to what I saw out of the Nano. This camera has a 1/1.3 inch sensor, can shoot both in 8-bit and 10-bit, has a normal color profile and a log profile they're calling X-Log. Now, if you're someone who likes to color grade, two things should stand out there to you: 10-bit and log profile. In this scene, I'm shooting in 10-bit normal color profile, and I think it looks pretty good. But now, let's go ahead and put this into the X-Log. I'll put a basic color grade over this and you can see the difference. By shooting in log, we're just going to get a little bit more of that dynamic range and allows us to tweak the colors if we want to. And in low light conditions, I think it does a pretty good job. Now, it doesn't have a standalone low light mode, but I still think it looks pretty darn good in low light conditions considering the size of this camera. Overall, what stands out to me here is the quality of the video. I really do like the imagery this camera produces. Now, on board, you get 128 gigabytes of internal storage, which works well for this category. But when paired with this Vision dock, well, you can expand the storage by using the micro SD card. The camera itself is waterproof up to 10 meters and splash resistant with the dock. Just remember, before you submerge this thing, make sure you take the camera off the live dock, and then you're good to put it under the water. Stabilization is handled with two in-camera options: Motion Master, which smooths out motion whether you're walking, running, or doing action sports. And then you have Tilt Guard, which keeps the horizon level while you're recording. Both work directly in the camera, which is very nice because it keeps the workflow very simple and predictable. You don't have to use things like gyroflow. I found that stabilization on this camera is really rather good, and I didn't notice anything that would make me think it's any better or any worse than, let's say, DJI or GoPro or even Insta360. This camera does include a lot of smart features that we kind of expect from modern action cameras. Things like pre-recording, hands-free recording, and fast portrait to landscape switching all supporting the idea of quick capture. They don't demand attention, they're just there if you need them. The Atto has all the standard modes you'd probably come to expect. It has a photo mode, which allows you to take photos up to 40 megapixel in 16:9 or 4:3, and it offers a wide or a standard D-warp angle. In video mode, we have 4K up to 60 frames per second. It also offers 16:9 or 4:3 ratio. In 16:9, we have standard D-warp, wide, and ultra-wide angles available, while in 4:3, we only have standard D-warp and wide. In slow motion mode, in 4K, we have a 4x slowdown to 120 frames per second. And in 1080, we can get 8x at 240 frames per second, and both of these offer standard D-warp and wide views. Time-lapse has a couple presets for things like street and sky, and a custom option to set your own parameters. Hyperlapse offers auto or up to a 30x, and both hyperlapse and time-lapse offer standard D-warp and wide views. One of the things you should be aware of with the Xtra Atto, as well as all Xtra cameras at this point, is they lack the ability to hook up any type of external audio. So if you are looking to capture sound or voice, well, you're going to be limited to the onboard microphones. This is an example of the audio, unedited and raw, coming out of the Xtra Atto. How does it sound? But there is some hope. I do truly believe that Xtra will either come out with its own versions of external microphones, or via firmware, they'll open it up so that we can use any of the other Bluetooth microphones that are on the marketplace. So certain comparisons will be made, in particular to a certain camera that's out there right now. And what I can say about that is, overall, it seems to be improved. I didn't have any of the stability issues or micro jitters or jelliness that I had with that other camera. And I will say that the thermals have also been improved. We had no overheating at 30 frames per second, and in 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second, we had a much greater record time than we did with that other camera. And then lastly, if you separate the camera from the vision dock, well, you're going to be able to get a live view. Now, you can't do any playback when they're separated, but you can see what you're filming, which in terms of comparisons, I think that's a big win. Who is this camera for? Well, I think the Xtra Atto is designed for creators who value a couple different things: ease of use, discretion, and perspectives. It's well suited for things like travel, outdoor use, and even everyday documentation. For creators who want to stay discreet, or for those looking for very unique angles that very few cameras can capture, I think the Atto fits rather nicely into that space. Now, Xtra did send this camera over for free for my evaluation, but as always, they had no creative control or influence over my opinions. I think if you are in the market for a small footprint camera and you understand the limitations of this form factor, the Atto is a solid choice for you to seriously consider. If you are interested, make sure you check the links down below. And as always, my name's HillPhantom. I'll see you next time.